Alright everyone, welcome back to the class. Everyone is looking really refreshed, really rejuvenated. Looks like we're about to crush this course. Now, of course, again, we are working with Power BI, and just real quickly, I want to show you how you would download Power BI on your personal computer. Because maybe you've been putting off a project and now we got to make up some time at home. It's okay, we've all done it before. So what we're going to do in this situation is we're going to come down to the bottom left-hand corner, look up Microsoft Store. It should come up very quickly. We're going to click on it. And then once this loads in, we're going to go straight to the top engine, or straight to the top where the search bar is, and then we're going to type in Power BI, then hit enter. Once there, it will give us a lot of lists. It'll give a list of a lot of things, but what we need is Power BI Desktop. Should be the first one on the list. Now, right next to it, you do see Power BI Report Builder, but for what we're doing today, we don't need that. We can go straight to Power BI Desktop, click on this one, and then right here what says Open for me, for you it should say install. You can go ahead and install it, and depending on your machine, it might take 5 minutes, it might take 3 hours, but however long it takes, once it's installed, you can hit the open, and we'll be opened up to Power BI Desktop. And it is a very functional, nice looking app. Look at this, very minimalist, only giving you exactly what you need to work with, just as we need when you're working with a hectic schedule. And of course, there's different ways we can create a report, but just to keep things simple, let's make a blank report. Alright, so now we got our Power BI set up, we need a report to make. So let's just say that you're going throughout your day, everything's going well, but then your boss, he's rushing in, he's like all hectic, and he's saying, hey, I want to build a bank. It's going to take our company straight to the moon. It's going to make us the #1 company in the world. I need your help figuring out where to build it. And before you get a chance to say, like, wait, what a minute, we're a pharmaceutical company, he's already gone. He's out the door, and now we need to make this report. So you may be like me. I don't know a lot about banks. I don't know anything about building a bank. But we can start with where banks fail, and we can use that information to kind of guide our hand away from certain areas. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to open up Google Chrome. If you really want to, you can use Microsoft Edge. I won't judge you too hard. And then we're going to type in a website called data.gov. Now, data.gov is a wonderful resource. It is filled with all kinds of information. If you could think of it, it's probably in here. For example, there's in here a data set on the declining sales of margarine. Now, as much as I would love to talk about margarine for the rest of the course, we do need to somewhat stay on topic. Our boss can be in any second. So we're going to go into this search, and we're going to type in FDIC failed banks. All right, we're going to hit enter. And then cherry picked for us right at the top of this list, FDIC failed banks list. We're going to want to click that one. We're going to click on it. It's going to take us to a new page. We're going to ignore everything, hone in straight to the download button, and click that one. And as you may have seen, it didn't actually download anything. It just took us to another web page. Don't worry, I'm just as confused as you are. And now we have this wonderful data, the exact data we're looking for. However, we're going to take one good, long, loving look at this data and scroll right past it, right to download data CSV. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to right click, you're going to scroll down to copy link address and click that one. Now you could just click the data and download it. However, for what we're doing, it's actually a lot easier to just once again right click, go down to copy link address, click that one, and copy that. Once that's done, we can go ahead and minimize or exit out of the website and come back to our report. And now we have a beautiful blank canvas to paint data onto, but how do we get the data into it? Well, luckily for us, Power BI has the greatest solution. All you gotta do is come to the top left where it says get data, click it, and it's gonna give you a drop-down menu. We're gonna go down the list until we see web and click on web. Why are we clicking on web? Well, it's because we got our data from a website. If you got your data from Excel, you would get it from Excel. If you got your data from Word, you'd get it from Word. But since we got it from a website, we're going to use a website. And now it's going to ask us for a URL. You're going to go to the box, you're going to right click, and you're going to hit paste. And if you want to be extra fancy, you could hit Control V. However you get the data, however you get the URL into the box, you're gonna go ahead and click OK, and then after a few seconds, it should load in. And during this time, it may give you a pop-up box asking, are you sure you want to get data from this website? If so, just go ahead and click yes or okay. It's not asking it from me because I've been using this website a lot. And then we got the data in, but already you can kind of see something's off about it. It's got these weird diamond question marks. And for you and me, that might be fine. That could be whatever. But our boss, he's a very visual man. He's a very visual learner. So he's going to go into our presentation. He's going to come walk into our office, see what we're working on, and he's not going to listen to a word we're saying because all he can see, all he can focus on is that diamond question mark. So we need to fix that. Well, what you do is you go to where it says File Origin. You can go ahead and click it and scroll all the way down until you see Western European Windows. I'm going to go ahead, click on that one. And then look at that. The data is already looking so much better, so much nicer, so much cleaner. And it's even written in Times New Roman, which is, in my humble opinion, the best looking font. I will not be receiving questions on this matter. Anything else, shoot them right at me. Best font, Times New Roman, hands down. But now that we have all this wonderful data, you may have noticed something else. We have too much of it, which is usually not a bad thing. But for our situation, we just need to know where banks are failing. We don't need to know the cert number. We don't need to know who even bought the institution. We just need to know what banks and where they're failing. So we need to find a way to transform this data. And wouldn't you know, Power BI once again came to the rescue and gave us a button called Transform Data. We're going to go ahead and click on that button. And it's going to open up a new window called Power Query Editor, where it's going to give us all our columns once again, the bank name, city, state, all the way down, and now we can start messing with the data until it's something a bit more workable. We got the clay, and now we can start molding it into something. And real quickly, before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty, I wanted to take your attention to the applied steps. Now, this is a really useful feature. What it does is it catalogs every single change you make to the data. So say you're on step 50, but you made a mistake on step 30. You can real quickly scroll all the way back to that step, make additional changes, or even take out that change entirely. This will help you when you're knee deep in this project and something isn't looking right. And you can even see that we've already made changes to the data. We changed the file type. It was that weird icky thing, and now it's in Western European. And with that being said, let's get back to messing with our columns. So now, once again, we have all these columns, but we don't need all of them. So how do we get rid of them? Well, you go to the top row, and somewhere in the middle, just past where it says Properties Advanced Editor, it says Choose Columns. It might take you a second to find it, that's okay. But once you find it, go ahead and choose Columns, and then once again, you're going to hit Choose Columns, and just in case it asks you again, you're going to hit Choose Columns. But after all that, it will give you a list of every column that we have in its order. And all we have to do is simply click on the ones we don't want. I don't need fund, I don't need closing date, I don't need cert, nor do I need acquiring institution. However, I'm going to leave it in because in a little bit, I'm going to show you something else that's kind of neat. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Once that's done, look at that. All those columns, gone, disappeared. We don't need to think about them. Hey, kitty cat. Now that we've gotten rid of this data, how do we add on data? For example, let's say your boss wants to build a bank in Springfield. Well, now we need to know which Springfield is he talking about. Is he talking about Springfield, Illinois, Springfield, California, Springfield from The Simpsons? We need to be able to discern cities from their states. So to do that, let's add another column that combines the city and the state. That way we can better narrow in on our data. So to do that, we're going to come all the way to the top left. We're going to go from Home, Transform, straight to where it says Add Column. Click on that one. And then we're going to go down to the first option right below it where it says Choose a Column from Examples. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click on From All the Examples. And from there, it'll give you a brand new column to work with. And right under where it says Column 1 in that second row, you're going to go ahead and type in the city and the state, because once again, we want to combine the two. Now we need a city and state. Well, just looking over to our left, we got Chicago, Illinois. So let's just type in Chicago, Illinois. Keep it simple. And then we can go ahead and hit enter, and look at that. It populated every other city with its respective states. Very, very nice. We can go ahead and click OK, and now the data's in there. But now, there's another thing. There's another problem we're having. What if our boss walks in right now and wants to look at our data? He's not going to be able to listen to us. Why? Because right on that title where it says merged, it doesn't fit the other titles. What is merged? This is a column about city and states. It should reflect that. And that's all he's going to see. That's all he's going to hear. So to fix this, let's go ahead and double click merge. And let's type in city, comma, state. Oof. There we go. I swear I know my keyboard setup. It's just rather sensitive. And once that's typed in, you can hit enter, and look at that. It looks so much cleaner. It looks so much better. Our boss might be doing okay finally. And while we're here, let's go ahead and come all the way over to the left where it says download data. We're going to go ahead and double click that one and rename it to failed banks. Now you could theoretically name it after heavy metal bands that you're really into. However, I've gotten a little bit of trouble for doing that recently, so we're going to keep it simple. Now, of course, why are we naming this failed banks? Because this is actually the name of the entire data we downloaded from that website. And it helps us in the future to kind of have names for them, because you're going to be downloading a lot of data. Are you going to be able to tell the difference between download data 1 and download data 75? I know I can't. So it helps me to just rename the data set, and I can real quickly find what it is that I'm looking for. But with that said, our data is transformed to our liking. So we can go ahead and apply it to Power BI. So to do that, all we need to do is hit the home button, and right below it, it says close and apply. It's going to give us some options. We're going to hit close and apply again. And once again, if it asks us again, close and apply. After a few seconds, it should load in, and it'll populate right here on the right where it says data. As you can see, it's kind of working, and there we go. Failed banks is in there. But now we have our data. Now we need to turn it into something visual for our boss. Once again, he's a very visual man. Now, to do this, all we need to do is pick a graph. And wouldn't you know it, right here where it says visualizations, there's so many options for us, so much to choose from. And this would honestly be the perfect time for you to kind of fiddle around with the graphs to see what best fits the data you're working for. For example, for our data, we could do a pie chart. However, that doesn't really fit for what we're going for. It could work, but it might be a little too noisy. It might be hard to parse the data. So for this one, we're going to keep it real simple, real nice, and we're going to hit a stacked bar chart on the top left. And we're going to click that once, and as you can see, right under all the charts, we got a new section. These are actually the components of the bar graph. We got the y-axis, we got the x-axis, and wouldn't you even know it, we have a legend, my favorite part. Now, unfortunately, as much as I would love to spend the next hour and a half talking about how much I love the legend, we do need to get this chart made at some point. We don't know when our boss is coming back after all. So how do we add things to the y-axis and the x-axis? Well, that's where all that work we've been creating the data comes back to help us. So we're going to go to the data where it says failed banks. We're going to click the drop down arrow, and it'll give us all the columns that we're working with. And what we would do in this situation is we'll take the data, the columns that we want, and put them in the axis. For example, we're going to take the states and we're going to put it into the y-axis. And all you have to do that is to click, hold, drag to the y-axis. Because in Excel, it would probably take like 6 PhDs, 3 equations, and maybe if you sacrifice it, go to the gods, you could get something to work. But with Power BI, all you gotta do is take what you want, bank name, click, hold, drag down to x-axis, and look at that. We have a functioning chart. And real quickly, before we go into this chart, something else you can notice is that acquiring institutions column that I left in, I did not have to apply it to the data graph now. I can still ignore it. Now, if you have a bunch of columns, it would be helpful to get rid of every column you don't need. But this just goes to show you that if you do make a mistake and there's actually a couple things left in, there are many, many, many opportunities Power BI will help you in order to get things moving along without too much hindrance. And then, of course, now we have a wonderful looking graph. Let's go look at it. Actually, we're going to come down to the bottom right of this corner until our mouse cursor changes shape. We're going to click, we're going to hold, and we're going to drag it down and over until we have a better looking chart. And now look at this. We have this reverse Florida looking shape that gives us everything we need to know. For example, we can see that Georgia has the most failing banks in the nation. So we can go ahead and probably just cross that state off the list entirely. Look at that, almost 100 banks have failed. And what did you look at that? Florida represent is number 2. But honestly, with the way ViStar's been treating me lately, maybe, just maybe, we can hit number 1 as well. But guys, I know that was a lot of information. That was really quick. Let's go ahead and take another 5-minute break. I know I'm going to be hitting the vending machine. Let's get refreshed, even more energized, so we can crush the rest of this lesson. Alright, I hope you all enjoy your break. I'll see you in just a few minutes, okay? Alright.